Hi guys, welcome back to Sarah Super Spa. Today we are on episode 7 of my Makeup Around the World series, which is so fun. Another update to my setup. I hope you guys can see. It's like a little brighter in the background. I'm actually about to eat dinner and I need to do this one really quickly, but I don't want to rush it. I'm gonna take my time but be like efficient with it, okay? Today we're doing Turkish makeup. I cannot wait. I know that there's like a typical Turkish makeup, which is like the Turkish delight trend. I'm not going to be doing makeup like that. I'm going to be doing it more how Turkish girls do their makeup, but I'm going to add a little bit of a glamour element, as always, like mixing different elements of different makeups of the country that I'm doing. The scent is like bergamot, mandarin, and sweet white peach. I think those are like the main notes, and I feel like it's just the perfect fragrance for this video. So I'm going to start off with skin prep because in Turkish makeup, skin prep is like a ritual. And as you can see, this first step is going to be using an ice cube. And they do this specifically to boost circulation and make the skin taut for the makeup. It's very hot in Hong Kong, and this is totally cooling me down, which is super nice. While I do this, let's talk a little bit about Turkish makeup. So the power of Turkish glam, I have some notes here, which is why I keep looking there. The power of Turkish glam is that you always look like you're about to fall in love or break someone's heart. I love that. Turkish makeup is never loud, never sloppy, always put together, elegant, but still has elements of glamour. I'm gonna go to my rose water, and this is to lightly tone and refresh the skin. I've been using rose water for like 10 years now on my skin, and it's just like such a nice way to start off your skincare. Okay, let's get into the eyebrows. So in Turkey, apparently eyebrows are very well groomed, but not overly groomed. Like they don't look like they're overly done or anything. So I'm gonna be using my brow pen to make them look just like I've done them really well by shaping them and not really look like they're filled in. And a brow pen is good for that because it creates these beautiful little natural strokes. So I'm just gonna fill in where I'm sparse and make like my eyebrow just look more full. There's certain elements of the makeup that should be undetectable, and eyebrows is one of them. Like no blocky Instagram brows for sure. Sorry if you hear any background noise. My family is currently watching Game of Thrones for the 4th time, at least my sister's 4th time. Now, the way that I've read that they do their eyebrows is using a pomade to fill it in initially, and then a pencil to then add more structure and definition. For me, I feel like if I do that, it's a little bit too intense because my brow hairs are very sparse. So I think achieving the effect with a brow pen, if you have more sparse brows, can be ideal to making it look less detectable. And then they use like a soap or a gel for holding the brows in place. So I'm using my Laca gel. I would use soap, but it does not hold my unruly eyebrows, unfortunately. For the eyes, they don't use any like crazy out there like cut creases or crazy glitter or anything like that, but they do definitely use some eyeshadow. So the eyeshadows tend to be a little bit more warm tone, so I'm going to be using my Tartelette in Bloom palette, and they're like kind of bronzy, taupey sometimes. So I'm going to start with this shade and mix it with this one right here and lay that down initially just to create a nice wash of color. That's so perfect. The eye looks are kind of smoky and soft without being a smoky eye, so blending is so key. Sometimes they use like cream shadows or pencils to really help with that smoky blend. For me, I'm gonna keep it to powders because I don't really have the right colors in my creams. Now I'm gonna go and make it a little bit darker with this almost bricky shade. It looks more warm on camera, but this is just gonna add depth and definition to the outer and lower part of my eye. And I'm just gonna be super careful with adding products. The way you achieve really nice smokiness is by adding really slowly and blending every step really, really beautifully. So I'm going in with my initial brush again and just blending everything out. And they do like to do a little bit of a wing. I feel like in all the makeup looks I've seen, there is somewhat of a wing. So I'm gonna, when I blend, wing out my eyeshadow as well a little bit. I kind of want to do a mix between, I guess, more typical wearable Turkish makeup and Turkish like glamour film looks. Because I think they're like stunning, but I don't want to go full Turkish delight because I feel like that's very like trendy. At the moment, more stereotypical look. And I do want to like keep the true nature of Turkish makeup in this. So now I'm going to go in with my dark brown and we're going to start building out this smoky wing. So I'm putting it right by my lash line with a small brush and just mapping out where I want this wing to be by kind of just following my natural eye shape and direction of my lashes. I typically do my base first because sometimes I feel like if I do my base first, the look looks really boring up until the end of the video. Even though I definitely prefer doing base first because it feels like I feel like I get so much better coverage with my foundation. Now I'm going to build the wing with this black eyeshadow where it gets more serious for sure. And then maybe we'll go over with actual eyeliner. But I want to keep that smoky element in here. So by doing eyeshadow first, it's going to look really nicely blended even after we add liquid liner if we want to. Okay, then they also do an inner corner highlight, but I'm going to wait for that. I'm going to get started on the base first because I'm going to add some base products in the inner corner area. I don't want that to have eyeshadow in it already. Oh, I forgot to put some Vaseline on my lips. Apparently Vaseline is like really well loved by Turkish girls. Okay, the skin is described as porcelain, not plastic. Fresh and smooth, a matte base with thinned out foundation. Okay, so I'm gonna use my Danessa Myricks blurring balm because apparently there's nothing a Turkish girl wants less than to look oily in her makeup. But it's not like a super matte look. It still like looks very natural. And like they said, fresh. So I'm gonna put this in my T-zone. I actually cannot find the foundation that I want to use, so I'm going to use the next best thing that I have, which is the Lancome Care and Glow foundation. Although this is like labeled as a glowy foundation, I feel like it's not overly glowy and it can still work. It's a bit light for me, but looks pretty good on camera. So thinned out foundation, I'm definitely going to work in small sections and really buff it in with a brush. I feel like I have some Turkish followers, so I'm hoping I get some nice feedback on this video. Okay, I'm using what's left to go in like my T-zone area so that I don't have too much product on there, too much oiliness. This might have been a good shout for the foundation just because it's not darker than my skin, which it usually is. Like I usually use a little bit of a darker, warmer foundation to match my body. But because this is pretty good, maybe a little bit even lighter, you can't really see where I don't have foundation on the rest of my like eye area, which is usually why I like to do my foundation first before I do eyes, so that you can't see like any of those peeking through bits. But right now, it doesn't look like there's too much of a difference because the shade is not crazy different from my skin. Next step is a bronzer. So the bronzer is there to sculpt and lift the cheeks and temples, and there's no harsh lines. So I'm going to start off with this pretty light bronzer that blends really well. It's like a serum. It's a glossy cheek tint by Ciate, and I'm going to use that on the cheeks, going in towards the temples, trying not to rub off my eyebrows. I'm going to do a little bit on the forehead because I feel like my forehead skin is darker and the light foundation looks a little bit unnatural in there without any type of bronzer. Okay, then later I'm going to go in with a powder bronzer. My hair is drying down and it's like starting to act as like a scarf, so I'm getting hot. Let's do concealer. They definitely do not do like brightening concealer. I'm going to keep it pretty skin-like. This makeup doesn't have a lot of contrast. It's very romantic, very beautiful, but it doesn't look heavy or intense for sure. So I'm just going to use concealer that matches my skin for the most part and is a little brighter than my foundation, but will definitely help cancel out these dark circles. And I'm doing a very thin layer and spreading it out so that the under eye is not cakey for sure. And now let's just, with what's left of my brush, kind of wiping off the excess product, I'm gonna sharpen up the wing. This is the Huda Beauty concealer. Looks so beautiful on the skin. Okay, in terms of blush, the blush is usually like peachy, pinky tones. Now, because I don't want like an insane amount of coverage, I am going to be using my sponge to blend the concealer because that will make it look a lot more natural. Going in between the brows and then just bouncing it on my face as well to blend the bronzer, the concealer, the foundation, make it all look super fresh. I think the perfect blush for this is this like kind of peachy shade, which is Lancome Idol Tint, but this one you have to work with pretty fast. So I'm gonna do a lot of like building and quick blending. Now the blush is really like typically high on the face, so I'm gonna try to keep it high, but I'm also bringing it into the center of my face a little bit because that's just what suits me better. But I'm gonna keep the concentration on the high points of my cheekbones, and they also do a tad bit on the nose to look like a little bit sun-kissed and youthful. So let me describe the blush, okay? Blush is emotional, not anatomical, and it's used to create a feeling. I love that. I love the whole concept of this makeup. So the aim is to look youthful and slightly sun-kissed. There's a trend going around, I think, I don't know if it's a trend, but a term they use, cool girl blush, which is this flush look with a little bit on the nose as well. And again, like peachy, rosy tones. It is high on the cheeks and they also bring it up to their temples. So let's do that. So I haven't seen much about powder use. What I'm gonna do, because I know, yes, it wants to be fresh, but it doesn't want to be oily or sweaty looking. So what I'm gonna do is use my blurring balm. And I just saw Danessa Myrick say you can use this as a setting powder. So I'm gonna take my beauty blender, pat it in slightly, and let's see how this looks. Let's put it to the test. Okay, this is the shiny bit. Let's pat, 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 pat. Oh, it doesn't even take away the shine. Okay. But it feels, but it feels nice and set. Okay, I'm not mad at that. But I did expect it to take away some of the shine. When you use it on your skin, it feels like a balm, and when you rub it in, it feels like a powder. So maybe that's why it doesn't feel like that yet. Okay, let's get that inner corner highlight going to really tie in the eyes. I'm gonna use this pretty champagne kind of shade. Start on the inner corner, like slightly bring it into the front of the eye. Then I'm gonna add a touch of highlight on the nose with what's left on the brush. I'm using my NYX, and this has like a pretty strong brush tip, which I like because it's not felt, which means the tip of the brush is not gonna gather in little bubbles, which I hate. But it is still really easy to control and precise. Just starting by creating a little bit of definition on my lash line, and then I'm gonna follow this wing that I did that follows my lash line. Not cute. Let's be quiet this time and try and wing it out slightly. Nice. Okay. Okay, I feel like it's coming to life a little bit with that. I like it. Let's do the next eye. I feel like I'm really imprecise right now, but I feel like the smokiness of the eyeshadow liner is really saving me here, which, thank God. The lashes are described as long, feminine, and realistic. So I'm gonna use this Lancome Idol Lash Idol mascara, and because it has really hard bristles, it's gonna make it good for separation. And to me, when I hear realistic and like any type of like fresh look of the lashes, I think no clumping. So I'm gonna do a light coat all over, just build it up a little bit more on the outer lashes. Oh, I forgot to do my Vaseline highlight on the skin. Okay, I feel like that's a good lash. Like, it looks very natural and fresh. I feel like Turkish women have such beautiful eyes. Like, a lot of them are like round but almond shaped. And it's just like, oh my gosh. And the little hack for highlight is to use some Vaseline. I'm gonna get rid of like the excess. You know, look at that glow that it gives my arm already. And just put it on the high points as a really beautiful natural highlight. I'm not gonna do it on my nose because my nose tends to get really like oily throughout the day. So me personally, I would just do it right here. And then they don't do a lot of mascara in the bottom lash. I feel like my bottom lashes are prominent enough. I'm not gonna add any more product on there. So this one also is not too far from my skin tone. So that's gonna be my choice. And I'm gonna really lightly make sure not to disrupt all the liquids and creams underneath. Tap, tap, tap. Sometimes when I do this, it like lifts my products underneath and makes it patchy. So I'm gonna be super careful because I don't really like to set my face with powder too much. So when I do this straight on top of a cream or liquid, it doesn't look, sometimes it gets a little bit patchy. So have to be careful. And I'm gonna again like go into my temples, high points of my cheeks. Beautiful. Tiny bit on the forehead. I'm like full on sweating now. Okay, we're gonna try two lips because like the typical lip is a mauvey brown liner and then a pinky nude, maybe like gloss or lipstick. But then there's this like more vintage cinema look that does deep reds and ox bloods, and I'm just like, I just have to try that. So it's carefully overlined for an upper lip pout, okay, and then gloss in the middle for dimension. Let's be careful. This is my mauve lip. Crisp lines. And then I'm gonna like go kind of over my cupid's bow for that pouty look. I think this lip suits my blush and bronzer so good. And then my double lip line technique. And then fill it in. This is Say Flirt lip liner. I feel like this is like a lot of the Turkish lip looks that I've seen. Pinky nude in the center. I'm gonna use gloss. It's a bit cool toned. Okay, this is look 1 with the mauve brown lip. I feel like this is super cohesive, super like soft glam polished. Now let's do lip number 2. I'm gonna use this lip liner. It's actually an eyeliner from Lancome. And I'm gonna line my lips with that. Actually, it might be a little bit too cool of a red. But we'll go over it with the lipstick. Yeah, this is a bit too cool toned. Lip tint, which is glossy. So let's blur this out a little bit. And I'm gonna take what's on my finger and do a little bit on the cheeks to bring a little bit of that rosiness. Because blend it out, this gets rosy. This is so pretty. Like, oh, I really wonder how Turkish this is. I would just love for a Turkish girl to let me know. Wait, I just had dinner and I realized I actually have the perfect lipstick for this. It's Pat McGrath. I cannot remember the shade, but it's really oxblood. So I'm gonna use this. Oh wow, yes, because I feel like I was missing some pigment. And this will really give me that color I want, because when this blends out it gets very pinky as well, so it has that rosy element too, so I can use that on my cheeks. Now let's bring a little more onto the tops of the cheeks, blending into the temples. Let's top this off with what I used earlier, which was the Laka lip tint. And yes, this is what I wanted. Gloss in the middle. This is the shade 104 Cherry. Oh my gosh, yes, this is what I was trying to achieve. Let me know which look you guys prefer. And that's all. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe so you can see the rest of this series, and comment below which country I should do next. And if you would like a personalized makeup routine made for your features by me, please check out the link in the description at softfocusconsultations.com. I really love this look. I think it's the most like unique one so far. I feel like I look like I'm about to kiss someone. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.